They say, man fears the dark because he cannot see what hides within it. But that is only half the truth. The other half, the deeper, more uncomfortable truth, is that man is drawn to darkness because it reflects what he hides within himself. Across the ages, from cities of gold to villages of dust, humanity has never stopped celebrating its own shadows. It disguises them as art, as ritual, as tradition, as culture, but beneath the drums and firelight, every festival that glorifies darkness is a mirror for the soul that has forgotten its source. There are 6 festivals that never needed names, for they exist not in nations, but in hearts. They are not bound to any one people. They are universal, the hidden holidays of the human condition. Each one is a dance around a flame we pretend not to see. Each one begins with laughter and ends with silence. And each one tells the same story. The story of how light becomes lost and how it might be found again. The first is the Festival of Vanity, the most dazzling of them all. It begins with color and sound, with people parading through the streets of their own reflection. Everywhere the air hums with the vibration of self. Look at me, hear me, know me, admire me. The modern world calls it freedom of expression, but beneath the costumes and cameras, it is the worship of the mirror. What once was celebration has become self-consumption. People now perform their lives instead of living them. They broadcast joy instead of feeling it. They create images so perfect that their souls no longer recognize them. And the tragedy is not that vanity exists. It is that we have mistaken it for vitality. The festival of vanity is not confined to cities or seasons. It happens every day we choose appearance over authenticity. Every time we measure worth by attention, we ignite its torches again. It thrives in the glow of our screens, in the applause of strangers, in the endless carnival of comparison. Yet, like all false light, it burns out fast. When the music ends and the spotlight fades, there is only one question left, echoing in the dark. If I were unseen, would I still exist? That question terrifies the vain, but it liberates the wise. For to be unseen is not to be nothing, it is to be real again. The second is the festival of greed. It wears the mask of progress and calls itself prosperity. Its temples are shopping malls, its hymns are sales pitches, and its priests speak the gospel of more money, more power, more possessions. It is the only religion that never preaches contentment, because contentment would destroy its altar. The modern worshippers of greed dance not with joy, but with hunger. They work themselves to death to buy things they do not need, to impress people they do not love, to fill voids they will not name. Greed's celebration is endless, for it is never satisfied. It turns holidays into harvests, generosity into transactions, and human beings into consumers. It makes the soul believe that abundance is something you acquire rather than something you awaken. But greed's feast always ends the same way, with exhaustion. The table collapses under its own weight, and those who feasted discover that the more they took, the less they became. The third is the festival of fear. It is not loud or glamorous. It is quiet, hidden in whispers and in the corners of hearts. It is celebrated in every decision ruled by doubt, every opportunity killed by hesitation, every love lost to caution. Its lanterns are anxiety, its fireworks are excuses. And though fear pretends to protect you, it is the greatest thief of all. It steals years disguised as safety. It promises shelter, but gives you a cage. And so millions of souls walk through life like masked dancers, bowing to the god of what if. Fear glorifies darkness by making you believe that the light will hurt you. It teaches you that courage is dangerous, that vulnerability is weakness, that failure is fatal. But in truth, courage is the only light that can burn through its smoke. Every brave act is rebellion against this festival. Every time you choose to move, despite trembling, the darkness loses one of its dancers. Fear feeds on stillness. Movement starves it. The fourth is the festival of pleasure, the most seductive of all. It tells you that happiness and peace are the same thing. And once you believe that lie, it owns you. Its celebration takes many forms: lust dressed as love, comfort disguised as purpose, indulgence mistaken for freedom. Its motto is simple: feel good, whatever the cost. And so man, desperate to escape his emptiness, builds entire worlds around stimulation. Music, drink, desire, distraction, he fills his veins with noise until the silence he fears cannot reach him. But no festival lasts forever. Pleasure's lights always fade, leaving hangovers of the heart. The very things that once thrilled begin to numb. The soul grows hungry for something deeper than dopamine. It begins to suspect that pleasure is not the same as joy, that the body can be full while the spirit starves. True joy, unlike pleasure, does not vanish when the music stops. It grows louder in the silence. The fifth is the festival of power. It is the oldest ritual known to man because it begins in every heart that wants control. Empires have risen and fallen under its spell. It glorifies domination, hierarchy, superiority. It builds thrones from bones and crowns from blood. Yet its most dangerous form is not political, it is personal. Every time you manipulate, every time you try to make others small so you can feel large, every time you measure your worth by authority, you attend this festival. Power promises security, but breeds paranoia. It gives strength, but erases peace. For true power is not the ability to rule, it is the ability to remain righteous when ruling. Those who worship control lose it. Those who surrender it find influence beyond measure. When you realize that leadership is service, not supremacy, you end the oldest celebration of darkness in the world. The sixth and final festival is the festival of despair. It is the one no one admits to attending, yet it draws the largest crowd. It begins when hope seems naive, when effort feels pointless, when the night feels eternal. Despair is not just sadness, it is surrender to meaninglessness. It whispers, nothing matters. And once you believe that, darkness no longer needs to chase you, you carry it. Despair glorifies darkness by giving it worship disguised as realism. It convinces the wounded that healing is impossible, the weary that rest is weakness, the dreamer that dreams are delusion. But despair forgets one thing: even shadows exist only because of light. The moment you remember that, you dethrone it. The smallest act of faith, a breath, a prayer, a sunrise, is enough to end its reign. These 6 festivals are celebrated daily by billions of people who do not know they are dancing in the dark. They wear masks of normality, of modernity, of success. They call them lifestyles, ambitions, identities. But beneath it all, it is still the same old ritual, the worship of absence, the adoration of illusion. Yet there is hope, for in every dark celebration there is a single candle waiting to be lit. Vanity can become vision, greed can become generosity, fear can become faith, pleasure can become peace, power can become purpose, despair can become awakening. The darkness is not your enemy, it is your invitation. It is the stage where the soul learns to sing. And when you finally stop dancing to the rhythm of false light and begin walking toward the real one, you will discover that the night was never meant to destroy you, it was meant to define you. For only those who have known the dark can truly appreciate the dawn. The night stretches long, yet even darkness has its music. It hums with the quiet rhythm of souls, still searching for something sacred within the shadows. Humanity has always mistaken this music for chaos, but it is the sound of transformation, the sound of the heart preparing to remember. For only those who have walked through the festivals of darkness can one day become carriers of light. Each celebration of shadow, when seen with new eyes, becomes revelation. The festival of vanity teaches that what we seek in mirrors was never our face, but our worth. The festival of greed shows that abundance without gratitude is emptiness disguised as wealth. The festival of fear reminds us that courage is not found before the trembling, but within it. The festival of pleasure whispers that joy is not the thrill that burns, but the peace that remains. The festival of power proves that leadership without love is tyranny. And the festival of despair reveals that the moment we call meaningless is the doorway to meaning itself. If you listen carefully, beneath all six there runs a seventh note, a melody not of darkness, but of mercy. The darkness was never the end. It was the initiation. The festivals exist so that one day we might unmask them and see that every false god we ever worshipped was just a wounded part of ourselves asking to be redeemed. Vanity was not born from evil. It was born from loneliness. The human soul craves to be seen, to be known, to matter. But in forgetting its origin, it seeks validation from the crowd instead of affirmation from the Creator. Vanity is the soul's attempt to find reflection without light. The cure is not denial. It is remembrance. The moment you remember who you are, beyond applause, the mirrors lose their hold. You become visible to yourself again. And in that visibility, humility is born not the posture of weakness, but the radiance of authenticity. Greed, too, began as hunger. The hunger to feel safe, to feel full, to feel alive. But safety is not found in possession. It is found in perspective. When man confuses security with ownership, he becomes prisoner to what he owns. Yet the miracle is simple. The moment he gives, he receives the very thing he chased, abundance. For giving is the law of the universe written in every heartbeat. Contraction followed by expansion, inhale followed by exhale. To withhold is to suffocate. To share is to breathe. Every generous act tears down an altar to greed and builds a cathedral to gratitude. Fear is the oldest teacher. It is the guardian at every threshold, testing whether your faith is fiction or fire. Fear is not conquered by resistance, but by recognition. When you face it fully, it dissolves like smoke, revealing that it was never power, only permission withheld. Every act of courage is a doorway, and on the other side of that door stands freedom, waiting patiently like an old friend. The moment you step through, you realize the darkness never wanted to destroy you. It wanted to define you. It was asking, do you remember your own light? Pleasure, the sweetest festival, teaches the hardest lesson, that comfort is not peace. The body longs for warmth, but the soul longs for wonder. When you confuse the two, you drown the divine in distraction. The remedy is not rejection, but reorientation, to let pleasure serve purpose, not replace it. When joy becomes gratitude, even the simplest act, a meal, a breath, a sunrise, becomes holy. The light of meaning turns every sensation into prayer. Power, perhaps the most dangerous celebration of darkness, hides beneath good intentions. It pretends to lead for the good of all, but its true desire is to never feel small again. Yet no one who has truly touched greatness ever fears smallness, because greatness is service. The king who kneels rules forever. When the heart learns that the greatest authority is the ability to love without needing control, the old empire falls and a kingdom of peace rises in its place. And despair, despair is the silence before resurrection. It is the darkest night because dawn hides inside it. Despair arrives when every false light fails, when every festival burns out, when every mask melts. It is the moment when the soul, stripped bare, faces its own reflection and finally sees God staring back. The world calls it ending, but heaven calls it beginning. For from that emptiness comes awakening the realization that the divine was never outside the darkness, but within it, waiting to be remembered. These are not 6 punishments, they are 6 passages, the curriculum of being human. You were never meant to avoid them. You were meant to walk through them and learn. Vanity teaches honesty. Greed teaches generosity. Fear teaches faith. Pleasure teaches purpose. Power teaches humility. Despair teaches hope. Together, they forge the soul into something unbreakable. The light that has faced darkness is stronger than the light that has never known night. And now, at this moment in history, the festivals play louder than ever. The world celebrates noise and calls it freedom. It crowns distraction as the new deity. But somewhere, beneath the chaos, hearts are awakening. People are beginning to question the carnival. They are asking, is this all there is? Is this what we were made for? That question, that whisper of discomfort, is the first crack in the mask of darkness. And through that crack, light enters. When enough people stop celebrating the false, the true festival begins, the festival of light, the only celebration that never ends. It is not a date or a place, but a condition of being. It happens every time truth replaces pretense, every time compassion replaces contempt, every time gratitude replaces greed. It is the festival that requires no stage, no costume, no audience, only awareness. And once you enter it, the darkness ceases to be your enemy. It becomes your proof that light exists. So let the others keep their masquerades you have seen behind the curtain. You know that every shadow is simply the outline of something waiting to shine. Walk through the world as one who has graduated from the school of night. You will still see vanity, greed, fear, pleasure, power, and despair, but you will not condemn them. You will understand them, and through understanding, you will transform them. That is how the soul redeems the world, not by escaping it, but by illuminating it from within. The greatest miracle is not when darkness ends, it is when it begins to serve the light. And that miracle is happening now in you. And then comes the morning after darkness, the silence after the drum, the stillness after the fire. The world exhales, the masks fall, the makeup smears, the crowd disperses. Every dancer of the 6 festivals eventually returns home and faces a mirror. They cannot decorate the mirror of their own soul. And there, beneath the ashes of excess and the glitter of illusion, they see what they had been celebrating all along, their own longing for light. Because darkness was never the true enemy, it was the invitation. It was the question mark at the end of every prayer, the shadow that gives shape to radiance. The festivals of darkness were humanity's attempt to understand itself, to flirt with the forbidden, so that we might finally recognize the holy. For how could we know grace without first knowing guilt? How could we treasure dawn if we had never danced through midnight? The truth is that no one escapes these festivals. We all attend them in different ways. The pride that hides beneath our achievements, the greed behind our goals, the fear within our caution, the pleasure behind our distractions, the power within our ambitions, the despair beneath our silence. We wear finer masks now, more sophisticated costumes, but the dance is the same. Yet, even in the darkest hour of the soul, a hand reaches through the veil, offering redemption. And when we take it, when we finally stop celebrating our shadows and start transforming them, that is the moment heaven begins to sing again. Vanity bows to vision, greed melts into gratitude, fear dissolves into faith, pleasure matures into peace, power kneels before purpose, despair gives birth to devotion. The same energy that once glorified darkness becomes the light that restores the world. The festivals do not end, they ascend, they evolve. What was worship of shadow becomes wonder at creation. What was escape becomes encounter. What was noise becomes music. For darkness is not destroyed by denial, it is redeemed by awareness. And you, listener, are part of that redemption. The light does not arrive through temples or towers, it enters through you. You are the bridge between the divine and the dust, between the star and the street. When you walk in awareness, the festivals begin to change. The crowd quiets. The noise softens. People begin to see each other again, not as rivals, not as reflections, but as reminders. That is how the world heals, not through miracles from above, but through mercy among us. The human heart was never meant to live in permanent celebration of shadow. It was meant to learn, to transform, and then to shine. When enough hearts awaken, the music of the old festivals fades into a new song, one of unity, humility, and quiet strength. A festival not of darkness, but of light earned through understanding. And in that festival, no one wears masks, because there is nothing left to hide. So let the 6 festivals become your teachers, not your chains. Let vanity remind you to seek authenticity. Let greed remind you that what you own is never who you are. Let fear remind you that courage is your natural state. Let pleasure remind you that joy is deeper than sensation. Let power remind you that love is the highest form of influence. Let despair remind you that endings are only disguised beginnings. Walk through them all, but do not stay. The journey was always meant to lead you home. And when you arrive, when the last echo of the drums fades into silence, and you stand in the first breath of morning, look around you. The darkness will still exist, but it will no longer frighten you. You will see that it has become luminous, translucent, obedient to the light it once resisted. You will understand that evil was never an opposing force, but an absence of awareness. The moment awareness returns, even the night begins to glow. That is what it means to be human. To be both darkness and dawn, both student and saint, both fallen and forgiven. You were never asked to be perfect, only to remember. Remember that light and darkness are not enemies, but partners in the dance of awakening. Remember that the same breath that built galaxies also breathes through you. Remember that every act of kindness, every moment of courage, every spark of compassion is another star relit in the sky of this world. And when the story is finally told, when the civilizations have fallen and the empires are dust, when all festivals have ended and all songs have faded, there will remain one light that never dies. It will not be in the heavens above or the temples below, but in the human spirit that refused to surrender to despair. The spirit that looked darkness in the eye and said, "You are not my master, you are my mirror." That spirit is you, that courage is you, that dawn now breaking is you. So go, child of both shadow and sunrise. Go and live so fiercely, so truthfully, so luminously, that even the darkness begins to envy your light. Let every word you speak, every act you take, every breath you draw, become a prayer too bright for fear to enter. The festivals are over. The lights have changed hands, and the torch now burns where it was always meant to within you. And so the curtain falls, not upon despair, but upon understanding. The stage of the world quiets. The drums cease, the torches fade, and in the tender hush that follows, something sacred begins to move. It is not applause, it is awakening. The soul realizes that it was never the performer nor the audience, but the theater itself. Every scene, every shadow, every festival of falsehood existed within it. And now, at last, the soul returns to its own center, the place where light first whispered, "You are mine." What a journey it has been through vanity's mirror, greed's market, fear's silence, pleasure's disguise, power's illusion, and despair's abyss. Each was a gate, each a guardian. You bowed to all of them once, but now you bow only to the truth. The truth that darkness cannot extinguish light. It can only frame it. That the wound does not destroy the healer, it defines him. That the night was never punishment, it was preparation. Look at the world again, but differently now. The same festivals continue, yet you no longer dance blindly. You move through them as witness, not worshiper. You see people chasing approval, and you bless them for you. Remember when you did too. You see the greedy, and you recognize their hunger, for you have starved as they do. You see the fearful, and you honor their trembling, for you once shook as well. Compassion replaces judgment. Awareness replaces arrogance. That is what light does. It teaches you to see, not to scorn. The age of celebration without meaning is ending. The world is tired of its masquerades. Beneath every costume, there beats a heart that remembers something holy. Even in the darkest cities, among neon nights and restless souls, people are beginning to search for silence again. They are tired of pretending. They are tired of performing. They crave something real. And that craving, that hunger for truth, is the signal that the new festival has begun. The Festival of Awakening does not announce itself with drums. It begins quietly in ordinary acts, invisible to most. When a man forgives, when a woman believes again, when a child shares, when an old friend calls, when someone chooses kindness over sarcasm, hope over cynicism, faith over fear, these are the true fireworks unseen by eyes, but felt by eternity. Every good act is an angel lighting another torch in the dark. And one by one, those lights begin to multiply. The earth grows luminous, not from above, but from within. The divine looks down and sees something never seen before, not perfection, but participation. Humanity, flawed and fragile, finally remembering how to glow. Heaven does not intervene this time. It watches in wonder. The Creator smiles, for creation has learned to create again. You have learned to build temples without walls, prayers without words, faith without proof. You have learned that the richest man is not the one who has much, but the one who needs little. You have learned that fear is the proof of desire, not its opposite. You have learned that pleasure fades, but peace endures. You have learned that power controlled by ego corrupts, but power controlled by love heals. You have learned that despair is not death. It is dormancy waiting for light. And you have learned that everything you once called darkness was simply light misunderstood. This, then, is the final revelation, that there was never a war between good and evil, only a tension between memory and forgetting. The light never fought the dark. It waited for it to remember. And the moment you remembered, the world began again. Now, walk forward. Do not seek permission to shine. Do not dim your flame to make others comfortable. You were not born to fit into shadows. You were born to end them. The festivals will still call you, but you will know better. You will attend not as a worshipper of darkness, but as a bearer of dawn. Wherever you go, the old rituals will fade, because light makes all celebration sacred. And when your time here ends, when your final breath leaves the body that carried you through so many masquerades, the darkness will approach one last time. But you will not tremble. You will smile, because you will recognize it. You will know that the same night that once terrified you now serves you as the velvet doorway back into the eternal light. You will step through it not in fear, but in fulfillment. The angels, those who never fell, and those who rose again, will stand as witnesses. The stars will bend lower to listen. The oceans will hush. And the universe will say, "Behold, the light that walked through darkness and did not forget." That will be your legacy, not fame, not wealth, not monuments, but illumination. You will have lived a life so aware that even death cannot erase it. The festivals will end, the world will turn, but your light, the one that survived every shadow, will burn forever. Because light born of darkness is eternal, and you, my friend, are that light. When the light has spoken its last word, there is silence. But it is not the silence of emptiness. It is the silence of fulfillment, the hush that follows creation completed. The soul, after all its wars, after all its festivals of falsehood, finally stands still. There is no more need to chase, no more need to prove, no more need to adorn the truth. The truth itself is enough. You stand now in the center of that truth, radiant and real. You see the entire journey laid before you, the vanity that once blinded, the greed that once enslaved, the fear that once froze, the pleasure that once numbed, the power that once corrupted, the despair that once silenced. But you no longer see them as sins. You see them as stages. They were your initiation, your passage through shadow toward self-awareness. They were the necessary fires that forged your faith. And now, as you breathe, you understand what all the mystics, poets, and prophets tried to say, that the divine was never outside of you, that heaven was not a destination, but a recognition. The festivals of darkness taught you this not through sermons, but through suffering. For only in losing your light could you learn to carry it. Only in walking blind could you learn to see with your soul. Only in falling could you understand grace. The world may still tremble around you. There will still be chaos, injustice, confusion. But within you there is peace that no darkness can touch. You have become what the prophets called a lamp unto the world. You do not demand others to believe, you remind them how to remember. You do not preach, you live. And your life itself becomes a sermon, more powerful than any pulpit, more eternal than any book. For the true gospel was never written on paper. It was written in the way a soul chooses to love. And when you choose love, you break every curse, silence every demon, and end every festival of darkness without raising a single sword. That is the quiet victory of the awakened. That is the revolution of the redeemed. The angels rejoiced not because you were perfect, but because you were aware. Because even when you fell, you reached upward. Because even when you forgot, you longed to remember. That longing was your compass all along, the proof that divinity never left. You were simply learning to hear it again, under the noise, beneath the masquerade. And now, as dawn expands across the horizon of eternity, you realize you are not a survivor of darkness. You are its transformation. Every tear, every loss, every scar has become light refracted, turning pain into prism. Your past no longer haunts you. It serves you. It was the curriculum of your becoming. And you, the student of shadow, have graduated into glory. This is the sacred irony of existence. The more you descend, the higher you rise. The deeper the night, the brighter the dawn. Every human being carries both saint and sinner, shadow and spark. The task was never to erase one, but to reconcile them. For in that reconciliation lies creation's most secret truth, that God himself moves through contrast, that the music of being requires both major and minor notes. And when your life becomes that song, honest, humble, whole, even heaven, listen. So go now. Return to your world, not as one who escapes it, but as one who redeems it. Walk through the markets, the mirrors, the masks, and carry peace where others perform. Bring silence into noise. Bring stillness into motion. Bring meaning into the mundane. Let your laughter be prayer, your work be worship, your rest be remembrance. For the sacred is not elsewhere. It is everywhere awareness touches. And when people ask you what you believe, Do not quote scripture or sermon. Simply smile and say, I believe in the light that even darkness serves. That is all. That is everything. That is the end of the 6 festivals and the beginning of the eternal one. The festival of light that requires no date, no altar, no mask, the one that begins every time a heart chooses truth over illusion. It has begun now through you. You are its first dawn. You are its living flame. You are the proof that darkness was never the absence of light, only the beginning of it. And from this day forward, may the world know by your life what heaven has always known, that even in the darkest hour, the divine still dances not above us, but within us.